Hello everyone and welcome. I wanted to share my new to me 2025 Jeep Gladiator Mojave X. We're going to do a full walk around of this thing. But at first I wanted to share, I mentioned in the video that one of the first things we did with it was take the family to Michigan International Speedway for their lights display. I want to show a couple pictures here of it and talk about it really quick because I highly recommend you go. It is an amazing time for the family and I wanted to share it with all of you guys. It is $35 to go for per vehicle, not per person. And you just drive around at 7 miles of lights, and I highly recommend that you guys go. We had a ton of fun. So here is the entrance right before. There is 2 porta potties. I wish for a setup like this they would have better bathrooms for people to be able to use, but there isn't. There is some concession stuff that you can get there. I think they had candy canes and popcorn, cotton candy and popcorn, things like that. You basically drive through all the inner roads around and also in the infield, so you're literally right there looking at the banked part of the speedway. And these lights, of course, are blinking and changing color and doing dynamic stuff. There's like snowballs moving through the air and things like that. It is really worth seeing. They have like the 12 Days of Christmas set up with different lights and a bunch of other different setups. So you should definitely check it out. It is super cool. Well, what do we have here? This is my 2025 Jeep Gladiator Mojave X. This has been a calculated plan for a really long time, and I realize there's been one after another of new content opportunities here on my channel, but this has been a calculated maneuver. Let me tell you about this one. Here's the problem. We have put 60,000 miles on my Expedition this is a 2023 model, so this is the end of 2025, and we bought this in July, I think it was, of 23. We have put a ridiculous amount of miles on it because we've got family in Ohio. We've got family in Southern Michigan. I helped take care of my mom. And of course I was taking care of my dad and driving around for work and whatever. We put a ludicrous amount of miles on vehicles. So having another new vehicle to distribute miles on has been high on the list for a long time. The other thing is you can see they're about the same length, but the Jeep is a lot skinnier and a little bit shorter. Look how much shorter it is. And it's just a little bit easier to park. It has a very tight turning radius. This was on the menu for a little while to allow us to go do more family functions. We just went to MIS International Speedway for the drive-through lights. I highly recommend that. It was $35 per car. So any amount of people you have in your car, just $35 a car. And I have no affiliation with them. I'm just telling you that that's what we did. And it was an amazing experience. That was our first experience in the Mojave. And it happened to be a nasty snowstorm. I don't know if anybody has seen the night of December 1st, Southern Michigan and Northern Ohio got a good bit of snow. But it's not only that there's a good bit of snow, it's that it was slippery. Man, the highways were really slick. A ton of semi-trucks were looped out. A ton of cars were crashed into guardrails. The whole way home, it was just paying attention and making sure that we weren't going to be part of somebody else's wreck. I'm happy to report that another great thing about the Mojave is, like any Jeep, they are phenomenal in the snow. And the other cool thing is because it's a Gladiator, it has a longer wheelbase. Any idiot can drive this thing in heavy snow. It basically is a point and shoot, point the tires where you want to go, and it goes there. I am very impressed with its all-weather performance. That's something that we need here in Michigan. Moving forward, we're going to be doing my mom decided to stay in my parents' house as opposed to shrink down or do something different. So I'll be down there to help her take care of the house and take care of the yard and things like that. We're going to be doing a lot of that going forward. And most importantly, I have not been able to give my wife a proper honeymoon yet. This is sort of a honeymoon gift present thing, not really for us, not for her, for us, me, because it's awesome. But our plan is to go down and go to Florida and drive through the Everglades on the trails. There's a whole like an expedition trail thing in Florida, the northern part of Florida, going across Panhandle and stuff like that. We're going to try and do that. We definitely want to get my daughter out west to see out west. I would like to see like Moab and all that stuff. We're going to, over the next couple of years, we're going to be doing a whole series of trips so my daughter can see state parks, national parks, things like that, Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore and all that good stuff, and take down Route 66 and all that other stuff. The other really cool thing about this is that you can flat tow it. So we have neutral position transfer case. We can tow it behind Shamu. Shamu is what we call our Class C. You can check that out on there too. And so it's all been kind of a calculated experience. The cool thing is that with a Jeep, they kind of are like a commuter car that does a lot of really cool stuff. Now let's get something out of the way really quick. It's a Jeep. It's a Chrysler FCA Stellantis product, now Stellantis. One of the things that you have to expect going into it is that you might have some weird defects, because that's just an FCA Stellantis thing. Generally, we talk about Ford vehicles on this channel. One of the things I like to stay away from is those weird defects. But the nice thing about this thing is that it has straight axles front and rear, pretty hard to screw up a Dana 44, and these are better Dana 44s. They are heavier duty, larger ring gear versions of a Dana 44, so they are highly strong axles on this truck. The awesome thing about the Mojave itself is these awesome remote reservoir shocks. The ride quality of this thing is absolutely ludicrous. It is fitted with 285 70R 17 Falcon Wildpeak AT3W. So the cool thing about it too is we're going to be able to explore. On our previous Jeep, we traded in Hope's JKU for this beast back in 2023, and we always wanted to get back into a Jeep. I put a set of AT3Ws on that truck, and we ran those for about 65-something thousand miles, and they were phenomenal. It's going to be really fun to compare the performance of the AT3W that I already knew was really good, and then it's hard to look back on things and be like, oh, this thing did this and whatever. Now we're going to have a set of AT3Ws to compare directly with all my sets of AT4Ws, and we will explore how it performs. One thing to be cognizant of is the Jeep is light, and it is specifically designed for off-roading excellence. So in theory, it's probably going to be better than other vehicles because of it being just a better vehicle overall. Check out the ground clearance. Tons and tons of ground clearance. What does a Mojave not have? Well, it doesn't have the 4-to-1 transfer case that the Rubicon has. It also doesn't have a front locker. And it also doesn't have a front disconnecting sway bar. What do you gain? Chassis stiffeners. The other really cool thing that I particularly wanted, one of the downsides of the Rubicon and all Jeeps is the aluminum knuckle. This has cast iron knuckles because they're stronger for use for desert rated off-road driving. What is the net benefit to you? Well, that is one of the weak links of the front axle on a Jeep, whether it be a Rubicon or whether it not be a Rubicon, is the aluminum knuckles. We already have cast iron knuckles, so we're already stronger. My understanding is that the Mojave has bigger brakes. I can definitely report that the brakes are phenomenal. I really, really like the braking performance of this thing, much better than her JKU. The entire experience, as much as I loved her JKU, and it would have been fun to build her JKU, but we needed to have a daily driver, not a built off-road machine at the time. And not that we're going to build whatever. This is already a built off-road machine. It already has rock sliders, which is super, super cool. This has a steel bumper. One of the things that I had the dealer do is the dealer is going to install the factory winch plate and Warren winch setup that they offer for the Jeep. And that is going to be an excellent upgrade for this, and better yet, factory integrated. My understanding is that it'll have connectors and all that good stuff instead of hardwiring everything in. It has factory LED lights in a really good looking body match grille, fenders, and hardtop. It is a body match color hardtop. So the rear bumper has got these excellent, basically rock sliders for the rear quarter. So if you drop down on there, you're going to be well taken care of. The heavy-duty rear bumper, the awesome orange accents on the tow hooks, and it does have factory-installed trailer hitch and hookup for your lights. And look at all that underbelly clearance. Lots of underbelly skid plating. We have a whole bed to work with. We haven't really decided what we want to do with this yet. Do we put a Diamondback topper? Do we put a Rough Country makes a whole rear enclosure cap that has lockable side storage stuff, and then we could put like a deck system in here. Let me know what you guys want to see, because I don't really know what we want to do. We definitely want to do something to improve storage, lockable storage through our tailgate locks. That is an awesome feature, and it is a Tampen tailgate. I actually didn't know that. It has bed lights, as you might expect with any modern pickup. The tailgate is super light, by the way. The nice thing is, too, the height of this is slightly higher than the regular Rubicon for the suspension that it has. And it does have the awesome shocks in the rear too. In my understanding, better suspension links as well. This is the granite crystal metallic, which I think looks phenomenal. I've wanted to buy a Ram or Jeep product in this color for a very long time. If I ever got a Power Wagon again, I might consider this color because it just looks killer. So let me know what you guys think about this. There is lots of opportunity here, but we haven't even gotten to the interior yet. Well, first of all, there's room for a baby seat. My 6-year-old with super long legs fits in here just fine. The X has this awesome sage green interior on the seats, which looks really cool. Now, one thing about Jeeps is they have really good door seals. So you're going to find that you kind of got to slam a Jeep door a little bit more to close it. We have the awesome green dash. We have an excellent big wide navigation system. I will say we're going to use the heck out of that, and I've already been using it. It is very smooth and works pretty well. The one thing is that if you want to verbally dictate your like location, I haven't had a lot of luck with that. So I tend to pull over and just type it in because they don't allow you to do that stuff while it's running. The shifter is very comfortable, looks cool, has a Gladiator on top. 4-wheel drive functions perfectly. We did have to use that last night because of some nasty stuff, and I wanted to make sure to not get rear-ended, so I pulled it in 4 in case I needed to floor it to get out of the way. Good storage in here. 2 cup holders, works pretty well. I am a large guy, and I will say that I fit in Jeeps pretty well. I don't think you have any excuse to say you can't fit in here unless you're taller than 6'2", and fatter than I am. So that kind of says something. I fit in here pretty good. So if you're under 6'2" and not working on your weight, then you should be able to fit in these things just fine. I have the seat all the way back, seat all the way down, and whatnot. The Gladiator X, or the Mojave X, has a lot of electrical accoutrements. The biggest thing that we were chasing was, first of all, remote start. Second of all, heated seats, heated steering wheel, and dual zone climate. That way my wife and I, who run at totally different temperatures, can be all set on that front. The other really cool thing about the way that they fitted out these new, whether they be JLs or JTs, everything has a nice finished feel. There was nothing wrong with the JK. It was very utilitarian. It was very Jeep-like. But they've gone through and they've really made this thing more comfortable. The window switches are rubber, and they have a really nice textured feeling, so you can grab it if your fingers are wet. The shifter just feels really nice, nicely finished. Same with the 4-wheel drive selector. Everything about it, these knobs are big and rubber coated with the big textures to grab. It's just nicely fitted out. You can use auto high beams, or if you want to just use manual high beams so you don't have the auto telling you can't run your high beams. For instance, if there's glare on the road, or you're on a freeway with a divided thing and there's different glares from oncoming cars that aren't anywhere near you, you can run your regular lights and still use your high beams as if they were not auto. But if you want to run the auto function, it is there for you to use. Has fog lights. They work really, really well. We're going to look at getting to be able to run the fog lights with the brights on in case we're in inclement weather. We'll be looking at a lot of things. This has a factory rear locker that you can engage in 2-wheel drive, which is a little bit frustrating, and you can engage in 4-high except for in off-road plus mode. We'll be exploring that a lot more. We've been kind of daily driving and breaking this thing in and enjoying it because I just bought it yesterday. But we have a lot to learn. We're going to, at the same time of getting those fog lights to be able to work on high beams. The other thing that we can do with the same product, the Taser by Z Automotive, I think it is set the rear locker to be able to engage in 4-high and 4-low, or in 2-high, whenever we want it to, as opposed to asking permission. It has aux buttons, so we'll probably be wiring up rock lights, rear-facing lights, and side lights. One of the things I've learned with all the trail riding that I've done is sometimes you end up being late. You might have a tire puncture, you might have somebody with a breakdown, you might have a breakdown, you might get lost. It always seems to happen that you end up later than you wanted to be. So having extra lighting so that you can see what you're doing makes a huge difference. The other thing is, if you have a breakdown or you have a tire failure, if you got to do a plug in the dark and you don't have rock lights or something like that, you're working blind, or you're having somebody else hold it, or the light, I mean. If you don't have someone else to hold it, you're going to be in big trouble. So those aux switches are going to be great. And one of those is going to end up being the front locker switch eventually. So the solution, I love having the Easter eggs around, super cool. I think that there's supposed to be sandals on the dash because some guy only wears open-toe shoes. Now, I've not ever been one for open-toe shoes. Check out my biscuits that are definitely not open-toe shoes. These things are well worn. It's about time I invested in a new pair of shoes. I have thousands of miles of walking on these shoes. It's ridiculous. So, front locker. Let's talk about the front locker. One of the things I don't feel bad about getting this is that I get to put my own front locker in. And what does that mean? It means I can have control. I don't like having to ask the vehicle's integrated wiring system for permission to use the locker. The front locker is so important. And you turn tighter with a front locker engaged than you do with the rear locker engaged. So I would rather have the rear locker as a 4 low, and with the Taser, we're going to be able to have it 2-wheel drive and 4 high. But, let's just say we didn't have that. We'll be able to engage a front locker whenever we want it. So the question becomes, do we run an A or B air locker, or do we run an E locker? What's the difference? Well, you have to have a compressor on board to run an air locker unless you want to have a power tank hooked in the vehicle permanently, which we're not going to do because it's not a crawler. They do make, and we're not going to run that on this, but they do make competition use lockers where they default to engage and the air unengages them. So that'll work better if you want to have a power tank on board. We're not going to do that because obviously this is a daily driver. What I think, so if you have to pay to have an air compressor, of course, but the advantage is then you have onboard air. So there's a pro and a con there. I've always been an E-locker guy because they just work really well. And it's something I can wrap my head around. You just need to have 12 volts and a ground. Super easy to fix, super easy to hotwire if you had to. They're pretty thoughtless. Basically, you're only going to have a relay fail or the wiring get cut or a connection come off the power supply or the ground. Like, pretty hard to screw up an E-locker or an E-locker. But the ARB, you kind of got to rely on seals. You got to rely on an air line, and then it has to go an air pump, which is also going to have power supply, relay on off. Then you're going to have the relay to send air to the front locker. There's a little bit more to go wrong. However, a lot of people have had really good luck with them. I am experimenting as we speak. My 2016 Ram is at the ring and pin shop getting a front locker, which is an ARB air locker in it. So we're going to be experimenting with the air locker on the channel. I've always been an E-locker guy. We will see. One of the things that may happen before we go embark on any trips is getting that E-locker, getting a locker installed. Let me know if you guys want to see an E-locker and air locker in this, because there are some pros and cons. At the end of the day, if they're working, they both accomplish the exact same thing. The ARB is super strong. The Eaton E-locker is super strong. There isn't a whole lot of reason. Yes, I'm aware that there's a mechanical locker, the aux locker. The problem with that is you always have to have that cable adjusted right, and that adjustment can move because cables stretch. I'm not sure that I want to go that route on this because it's kind of like iron sights on a gun, and everyone's going to throw their hands up at me. Iron sights are less reliable than a high quality optic, whether it be an electronic optic or a glass optic. Iron sights are notoriously unreliable, and someone's going to throw their hands up and say I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Iron sights get bumped, they get bent, they fall off. Things like that happen. The gun can have, if it's an AR and it has a shroud on the end, that can get bent, and then your front sight post is not aligned with anything. Iron sights are not better than, for instance, a really high-quality Trijicon optic or something like that. And yes, we're going off in a gun conversation, but iron sights are not as reliable. Just like revolvers are not as reliable as a semi-auto. That is absolutely a fact. The internals of a revolver can and will fail over time. They are highly sensitive to timing in order for the unloading gate to open, for the cylinder to line up with the barrel at the exact time the hammer moves. They are very unreliable compared to a Glock or something like that. So there's some things on the surface that sound like the best option, but in reality, in the real world, they're not. I would rather have a high-quality dot to my AR and not have any backup iron sights than I would only have iron sights. Not only is it faster and everything is better with a dot, but it's more reliable if you have a quality one. Moving forward, I'm not going to go a mechanical diff actuator on this guy. So let me know if you want to see an E or an air setup. The air, of course, gives us air that we don't have to bring around a power tank. I really like my power tank. I use the heck out of my power tank. As soon as I got my power tank, I immediately was using it like crazy. The problem with it is it's big, it's heavy, and if we're going to travel in this thing with potentially my daughter, my wife, bags, things like that, you add in the power tank into the bed, for instance, under a Diamondback cover, it's a lot of extra stuff versus having an A/B air pump under here, and then we can do the two things at once. You can have tires aired up and aired down, and you can have the e-locker engaged or disengaged. So it is definitely a very logical solution to a problem. So I want to hear what you guys have to say about that, because I could make an argument either way. It would be nice to wham bam, thank you ma'am, we got air and we got e-locker or an air locker all at the same time. Or if one was gonna add air anyway, is there an argument to run an e-locker for its simplicity and lack of likelihood of failure? I've run a lot of miles in e-lockers. I haven't had a problem. It is very nice to have a selectable locker as opposed to even though I love Detroit lockers in like a work truck. When you have something like this that you want to be able to park and daily drive and all that other stuff, it's nice just to have an open diff, because a lot of times you just need to have an open diff. You don't need to have a locker. And then when you flip the switch and you got full lock, no arguments, no question, you have the best of both worlds. You got open diff for open diff stuff, and you got a locker for locker stuff. You get them all at the same time, and I think that cost is well worth it. On over top of, for instance, doing a limited slip diff, which has inherent downsides. They're basically pointless for off-roading, because when you need to have both tires spin with a limited slip diff, you're not going to have that happen, period. They don't lock up. They're not lockers. That's the problem with them. So if you're gonna need to have that added performance, I'd rather either have an open diff or a locker. For me, the middle ground is not a ground that I'm interested in being at. Anyway, the other thing that we can do, we could put disconnecting front sway bar end links in. So basically what that accomplishes, it allows you to unlock your sway bar. Whoopsies. Those guys are your end links. They are big, nice bolted. I will say those are pretty hefty units. Well done, Jeep. I mean, those are bigger than I think the ones in my 2003 one-ton Cummins, which I've broken many times. So we could do a manually disconnecting front sway bar with those end links. You would have usually a pin that would remove them, and then you'd pin them up out of the way. So the sway bar would move up out of the way, and you'd be good to go. Then you'd have full axle flex back and forth. That's really a nice setup. The other thing you can run, because you really don't need to have a sway bar in something like this, but having just a little bit of sway bar performance goes a long way. So the other thing you can get is like a torsion sway bar or a lighter sway bar that gives you just that little bit of on-road handling confidence, but allows for a whole lot of axle articulation. I am going to sway. We're going to see how this goes. I would rather spend less money, first of all. The sway bar disconnecting end links are cheap. And it allows you to have, just like an e-locker, where you either get all street or all off-road at the same time. I think I'd rather do disconnecting sway bar, because then you'd have all street or all off-road with no downsides either way. The one downside with the disconnecting sway bar, of course, is you can lose the pins, and you could have it come unpinned where the sway bar flops down and then it gets hit by the axle, gets hit by an obstacle. Things like that you want to avoid. Now, so we don't have any scope creep. Let's talk about what we're going to use this thing for. We're going to be predominantly using it as an easy to park daily driver for the family. Take some miles off this beast when we're not bringing the dogs with us. The great thing about the back part is, whether it be family or whether it be dogs, and the mother-in-law, of course, I mean, dog, mother-in-law, same thing. This is a joke. I'm just kidding, Tammy. The daily driving aspect is super important. These are actually really nice little commuter vehicles. I think that a lot of people looking in from the outside don't think that it's... I akin these to a compact car, because they're not that much bigger. They don't drive that much different in terms of... They have a lot of upsides for their downsides, is what I'm getting at. So definitely daily driver. The other thing is, I want to be able to hit reasonable trails that aren't going to threaten this thing's future. And, you know, there's hard trails, and then there's things that this thing can reasonably do. We're going to keep it at this level. We're not going to be lifting it, because the whole point of this machine is the suspension that it has, which, let me tell you, is freaking phenomenal. It rides so good. It rides like a very well-built, like a Carly or a Thurn setup Dodge or a Carly setup Ford, a really high quality with really nice shocks setup Super Duty or Ram or whatever. And it also rides a lot like a Raptor. This thing rides actually quite good. It absorbs hard hits really well, but at the same time, it absorbs softer hits with good comfort. Some of that comes down to, these are load range C tires. There are downsides. They are not as heavy duty as load range E. They're going to be easier to puncture. We'll probably have a separate set of rims for the summertime that have load range D or E mud tires on it. These will be the winter set, of course, and then we'll probably have a summer set of maybe method bead grip, so we don't have to have a bead lock, but we get all the advantages of having a bead lock, or most advantages of having a bead lock. We'll be looking into that, so that way we have a true dual purpose wheel and tire setup, we have true dual purpose differential setup, we have true dual purpose sway bar setup, and all at the same time we have the chassis stiffening, we have the factory rock sliders, we have the factory winch bumper, and we have great ride and handling. We'll have the locker in the front. It's just going to be a really, really cool combination that I think is going to do more than a lot of people would think. I'm hoping to drive this thing down to Moab and hit the Rubicon Trail as it sits, but with the winch, of course, and with the locker. We will see how that goes. It has been a dream of mine to get down there and wheel. I've only been wheeling in, not the Pacific Northwest, the Northeast, where I'm from, and that's kind of what I know about and what I'm comfortable with, but I would like to see what wheeling in the desert is going to be like, so that is going to be on the menu of things to do. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and definitely make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day, and hope you have a great holiday season, and stay safe out there.